We are live.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Get this off of my screen. Okay. All right, so we can start with the individual committee reports. I think we'd be starting with finance.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Not lots of legislation as it relates to finance. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of legislation. I mean, the significant pieces is a lease agreement with Lincoln Library. Those are the main things for finance. There's 3 pieces that relate to the Lincoln Library in this month. You know, we did have the presentation on the ARPA funds. Obviously, everyone saw the questions that I submitted related to that, but that's more related to the revenue that's coming in from the feds this year and next year. So I won't belabor the points I made on that and just some of the questions that I have related to that. But yeah, those are the main actual factuals in terms of finance. I don't have any, last year I was like the bearer of bad news, but the finances are great for all the municipalities, the county, the city, and the school district. So no bad news there. So that's all I really have from the finance perspective.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Patterson.
Hello, all.
Hello.
Nothing really new here. We had 2 items. We still got 2 items. It looks like all the other items that came through regarding the American Rescue Plan Act were in public safety, recreation, and human services. So we don't really have anything too heavy, too new to talk about. That's pretty much it for me.
Okay. Councilmember Gruber.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sam, we've not heard anything. I've not heard anything about any of the proposed ARPA funding coming through to this committee. There's about 4 pieces of legislation. Councilmember Patterson, I did ask that Commissioner Jones reach out to you in particular about 357, making sure that the neighborhood associations there have been in the loop on that project. And then the rest of them are, continuations of some things that we've already done that we're doing in terms of big road reconstruction projects. And then 360 is related to our climate action plan, agreement with a new consultant on that work. So nothing else. I was expecting or anticipating seeing some other things from based on what we heard from the American Recovery Plan work session, but that hasn't happened yet. President Scott, are you aware of what any type of timeline is at this point?
No, and that's one of my biggest questions, actually, because I know there were concerns about ARPA and the way we received it. But I looked at it as I would look at budget, how the administration proposed the budget, and we get to go through it, and then we act on it. But we have time to do that. So I don't know what the timeline is on this. I have to find out.
Okay. Yeah, because I know Vice President Lightfoot's not here, but the only pieces that did come through were in his committee, and there's some pretty significant things that, again, we have not talked about as a body. I have to say I was disappointed with the work session the other day. What I think we had all been asking for the past several months was for what the administration's process was going to be, and we did not get that. That's actually what I asked several times during committee meetings, I think 2 months ago, and we were told, September, whatever that date is, there's going to be a work session. We're going to talk about process, but we had nothing related to process. We got a full proposal for dollars that are to be spent for the next 4 years. And it feels very premature to me to vote on anything related to huge projects like that without any conversation first. So I'm glad nothing came through my committee, because I would have been inclined to hold it. And I'm hopeful that we'll hold anything until there's some deeper conversation. That's it from my committee, unless anyone has any questions about.
Hey, quick question, just out of curiosity, the Dunn Street traffic flow change, which way is that? You may not know, Councilmember Gruber, but do you know which way that traffic flow is changing? I can tell from the.
I think Mike
Mike
may know better than me.
Yeah, I can answer it real quick. So long story short, we've had and there's been a history of accidents at that intersection of Dunn.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a restriction where he said, okay, going eastbound on Dunn, getting to Hudson, you couldn't make a left-hand turn. Well, yeah, not so much. People still made the left-hand turn. So I understand the recommendation, which is to say you're going to make that small section of Dunn a one-way from Hudson going westbound on Dunn. It's not even, it's basically one block. And the whole point is, no, you can't go that way to make that turn. It still leaves a lot of, you can still get to Hudson from Dunn. You just have to make a left-hand turn at the street before. It puts you onto the to the feeder off ramp for 104 onto a traffic signal, so you can make a safe turn. So it is a sensible move and direction that we're doing here. It's, now, is that still going to stop the scofflaws who are still going to go the wrong way down the one way? No, we still got plenty of them. It's not going to change what they do, but for the law-abiding citizens, it'll greatly increase safety on that corner, and it's a good idea.
Great, thanks, Mike.
I don't think we have any other any additional committee reports tonight. We entered ARPA as the next topic, and I don't know if you have additional comments or discussion you want to have on that.
No, I Madam President, I may have more after I get answers to the questions that I asked. And mine is just making sure that the council is just really able to weigh in adequately with this size of money and then time frame. That's a lot of my questions that I had related to that. So I guess I can wait to the questions. And Katie, I don't think that we've gotten answers to the questions yet.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
They were sent through today, though, because we said in agenda review that we would wait until Monday to send specific ARPA questions, but we haven't gotten answers yet.
Right. So that
I can't hear you, Katie. What did you say?
We said in agenda review that we would wait until Monday to submit ARPA questions in case people had additional ones, and I did get some. So I think we had questions from Councilmember Evans, Melendez. I'm missing someone, but we had, I think, 8 questions sent through this morning.
Okay. And what are we expecting? Do we ask for a specific response date or the regular agenda review timeline?
I asked for before committees because the regular timeline would be tomorrow. And I don't think that's fair, but I can also push for a faster timeline if that's what we want.
and the other thing is some of these are going to public safety, recreation, and human services. I was surprised to see that legislation will be put forth while there was still so much conversation still going on around what the process was going to be around this. So Katie, my question for that legislation, and I may have asked this, was, is it time sensitive? And if so, why? If that's one other one that can be added,
Okay.
Related to that would be great.
President Scott, the only thing I would want to add for sake of discussion, since I think that's what you opened it up to, is, I hear you that you're approaching this the same way that you would approach regular budget. Send us over the proposal, let us talk about it, let's have a chance for a dialogue. I think, to me, what I find particularly frustrating about this is that these dollars are expected to be expensed through 2024. And I just don't think that it makes, even if I agreed with every single proposal that was put out there, I just don't think it makes any sense to appropriate dollars for 2024 right now in October 2021, knowing how many things are likely to change and how important it is for us to make sure that we're using these dollars for what we're supposed to, which is a balanced and equitable recovery. I just don't think we know all the answers in October 2021. And I was expecting the administration to come and ask to appropriate some dollars, but I was very surprised and frankly disappointed that it was an attempt to appropriate all of the dollars.
So do we know that the October 24 date is the date by which it all must be spent, or it all must be obligated?
That was one of the first slides that Chris shared. Katie, I don't know if you have it right in front of you. It looks like
I'm checking.
Up.
Funds have to be appropriated by December 31st, 2024 and spent by December 31st, 2026.
Katie, can you repeat that, please?
Funds need to be appropriated by December 31st, 2024 and expended by December 31st, 2026. Anything that isn't by then has to be returned to the Treasury.
Okay. Okay, so we'll be getting answers to our questions and certainly talking more about the process as it has occurred and as it will going forward.
President Scott, I just had a question about that last piece, the process. So is it that we will receive these on a monthly basis as expenditures? Or are we going to get a full deep dive into the full plan? Because everything that was presented to us at the work session was very high level and not into the detail. And I feel like to do due diligence, we really need to dive deeper into the detail.
Of the items that are being appropriated, or the plan going forward?
The plan going forward and the allocations for each item. I'm assuming that there's a greater detailed budget that we haven't seen to really understand how these funds are being appropriated or requested to be appropriated at this point.
So that gets back to a better understanding of the process. Yeah, there are a lot of questions and a lot of concerns about the process. Okay. All right. What do we have next?
Reports from boards and commissions, and I will share the list.
Well, can I go first?
Sure.
Nobody ever volunteers. So Redco, quiet month. Biggest thing that we did is that we have state dollars for grant funding to put out, and we're making a grant allocation to Andy's Candies over on Hudson Avenue, keep them in the neighborhood and do some early equipment upgrade. So that's the biggest thing that we got going on this month.
Redco also launched an ad that I saw.
Oh, good.
A TV ad.
I'm never home to see TV, so I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Okay, good.
Okay, so we can go back down the list. Who's next? I don't see it.
The 3-on-3 from Councilmember Evans and the Convention Center.
Councilmember Evans?
Oh, I need your t-shirt, Madam President. I was muted.
I loan it to you.
Yeah, I was muted. So the 3-on-3, the last meeting we had, we talked about the district busing situation. So we got an update on that. And we also finalized our first CARES Act expenditure document that we did joint with the city, county, and school district. It's a great document. I think we now just have to start putting it out there so people can see it. But it's very instructive. I use it all the time. It shows where that CARES Act money went. So I think we can get that out to everyone. Katie, do you know if we sent that to all the council members yet?
No, we haven't. It's with Courtney. I can follow up with him.
Okay. Yeah, because I think it's great just for everyone to see. We can share it. I mean, it's pretty cool. It just shows like, hey, this amount was spent on eviction prevention. This amount was spent on food for seniors. And then it shows you what the allocation was for each of the municipalities and then what they spent the money on, which I think is very transparent and allows people to see the impact that the federal dollars had on the broader community. So we agreed that was all good and ready to go. So I think, Katie, if you can follow up with Courtney to make sure everything is accurate on it, we can get it out and start sharing it with people. Communications helped us with putting together, City's Communications Bureau helped us with putting this little item together. So I think it'd be great to share that. So we also heard from, it was a system, Mitch, is it systems integration?
Mm-hmm.
Heard from systems integration, who gave us a presentation on the work that they're doing to kind of integrate the systems throughout Monroe County, which was good. And our next meeting is probably going to be in November because I think there's a couple of conflicts in October. So that's kind of where we are there. And then convention center, same old, no large scale events, although I know some have been starting to be planned. Again, COVID is a major factor for a lot of these things. I'm still worried about COVID, hence why we're on Zoom and not in person. I've just known a lot of people in the last couple of weeks that have come down with COVID. So it's definitely not over yet, and it's affecting the event still. So the convention center is still not at 100% yet. So fingers crossed that, we're going into our third year of this stuff. Hopefully we'll start to see some type of relief. But it's decimating convention centers, not just in Rochester, but across the community and across the country. And that has not changed. So that's kind of where we are with the convention center stuff.
Would you remind me what the systems integration work was about?
So yeah, that's why we had him come, because so it's an organization, and Mitch, I think, is involved. So Mitch, you might be able to explain it better than I can, but basically it's a way, you have all these different systems in the community and they're all doing different things. The idea is how can they all work in the same direction in order to achieve a result? So social services might be doing something. You might have other community-based organizations doing things. So how can you find the common ground within those systems to be able to track that person so that person is getting all of the services in a way that is cohesive and it's not leading to broken systems? So for example, if you go into social services, can it be a one-stop shop to make sure that you're getting everything as it relates to childcare, food insecurity, and all those things right there at that spot? So that way it's not as disjointed. So as you know, Madam President, it's probably something that we've been talking about in this community for 50 years.
At least, yeah.
and still has not, completely accomplished it yet. But the goal is that can systems and integration do this? And they've had a couple of wins. But it's also, a part of Remappy, United Way. They're big players in the space. So being that we have folks from the county, the city, and the school board, we thought it would be good for us to get an update on what it is that they're doing. Mitch, you're also on 3 and 3, and I know you're involved with system integration. I don't know if I missed anything or if I misspoke there.
No, didn't misspeak. I put something in the chat. President Scott, it's just a link to systems, the systems integration page on the United Way website. United Way is serving as the kind of fiscal agent for it. But I think the only thing I would just add is that the work has been in progress for about 3 years, and it's being chaired by now Congressman Morelli, although he started it when he was still here in the Assembly, and Wade Norwood. The two of them have been working on this together, bringing in lots of community partners and frankly, lots of funding to eventually have data systems that speak to each other so we can really make sure people are getting proper wraparound services.
Nobody mentioned the state. And in years past, that was the hardest nut to crack, actually, because there are walls between systems at the state level that won't allow information sharing on some really critical stuff. So where are they in this?
Yeah, certainly involved. That doesn't mean that there aren't those walls aren't still there, but I think there's an acknowledgement they are. And again, Congressman Morelli started this work and actually got money from the state when he was the the head of the assembly. So I think there's certainly buy-in at the state level, but I think what they're really working on right now, and again, the site that I just put up has lots of information. I think what they're working on right now is really figuring out what does an actual data sharing system look like. It's not necessarily trying to have everyone adapt to something that's already in use, but developing something new. And I think that's a really big lift that a lot of the work is being focused on at the moment.
Thank you. So are you next with East Village? Is that where we are on this thing?
ABC actually, which I think
ABC, yeah.
I think
ABC.
ABC has a really important update, which is that they are in the process right now of rolling out the new vaccine or testing mandate. This obviously coming directly down from the Biden administration for employers over 100 people with significant federal dollars. And when President Biden made that announcement, he actually very explicitly called out Head Start programming across the country. And frankly, it's been really interesting to be on the ABC board while this is being developed. It's certainly a very I think it's controversial for a lot of folks. I think ABC is doing an exemplary job of building out the policy and making sure the policy has flexibility and making sure the policy is trying to meet people where they are, but ultimately doing what they got to do to keep people safe. So I don't know when it's actually official. I'm certainly happy to share some of the language, President Scott, because I am curious do you have any sense of where the city is on this? I'm certain municipalities are all working on that as well.
Well, I've asked, are we prepared for when that mandate hits us? And I was told that we're working on being able to adapt, but right now we're not covered by it.
Right now, you're saying the mandate that is going into effect of either vaccination or weekly testing does not apply to the city?
It was not when we last met.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't understand where the fallout might, or where the exception might be there, but I'm hoping that what places like ABC do, that the city learns from what's working. And I'm happy to share that as soon as CEO Jerome Underwood gives permission to.
Yeah, I'm gonna check back in on that, because when we had our last one-on-one meeting, that was one of my questions, and I'm sure that it wasn't to us by then, but I wanted us to be ready for it because it's got to be coming. Given the amount of federal money that we got.
Yeah, I mean that's all the leverage that the Biden administration has, and as evidenced by Head Start, which is just one small portion of what ABC does. They're utilizing that leverage. So I don't know how they don't use it with municipalities too, especially in the wake of giving us $204 million.
I haven't heard it from any of the NLC members either. So I know it's odd.
Got it.
Okay.
I'm
You're
sorry,
still
President
up.
Scott, what was that last comment? You haven't heard from?
Any of the NLC members, National League of Cities members?
I don't have anything major to report from the library board, except that they are, continuing to work hard to make sure that branches and downtown library are maintaining open hours in a safe environment. If anyone feels or hears otherwise, please do let me know so I can report it back. But I go to a lot of the different libraries, and I've been very pleased with how things are going and looking at them. And then When it comes to Peace Village, we had a quick board meeting last month, and there's a pretty small census there right now. I think it was about 10 people, and there continue to be some concerns around, how we make sure that space is sustained in the long haul and safe for anyone who wants to be there, and that's the work we keep trying to do. Councilmember Lupien, if there's anything you want to add to that, by all means.
Okay. Peace Village? No? Okay. All right. And Councilmember Harris is not here. We're still on you, Dr. Gruber.
Oh, for raise, I have not a single update. I've not heard. There has not been any re-engagement of that group whatsoever. And if there has been, it's certainly I have not known about it.
Did you have a set of questions that didn't get answered about that?
Me? Yeah, my questions were that the administration was kind of similar to what we talked about with ARPA. The administration put in $1 million into the budget this year for raise recommendations. Quickly spent, I think it was somewhere around 100,000 of it on kind of a data system for office community wealth building. But I asked at the time, how's the other 900,000 and some odd dollars going to be expense? How do we prioritize the race report? For there was a lot of strengths of it, but one of the hard parts is that there's a ton in there. So how do you choose what to spend that money on? And I never got a satisfactory answer of how things are going to be prioritized. I'm sure some of that was done through the ARPA presentation we had the other day, but I'd have no way of knowing that, nor would anyone else who participated on the commission.
We do have a work session with Dr. Archie on October 21st, and I know that they're going to talk about the budgeting, but that's really all I know. I don't know if that means it's going to be similar to the ARPA plans where we actually have something presented to us, or if it's going to be about the process of allocating. I'm not sure.
Okay. We'll have to keep that on our agenda, or put it back on our agenda for the one-on-one.
And maybe Katie, in preparation that being that it's through you, Madam President, be taking place on the 21st. In anticipation, it could just be great just to see what from the Raise Commission pulled out, what they anticipate that $1 million being spent for. So if it's for XYZ, that's on page 6, section 2 of the Raise Commission, is that what they anticipate spending the money on? Because I think for it to be a productive session on the 21st, it would be great if we know, specifics on, okay, this is the $1 million. This is what from the Race Commission, which people have embraced throughout the community. This is what the city's portion is going to be spent on. That would be, I think that would help me get a sense of what the allocation might be going to. And maybe they anticipate doing that, but that it'd be great to know that in advance, meaning that we got 2 weeks before the 21st comes up.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Lupien.
Yeah, for the PIC team, there are quite a few updates. So I'm actually going to share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
So the PIC team has partnered with the Reach Out Response Network to do an evaluation of their first few months. Evaluation is very important, so we know what's working and what isn't. There's an updated dashboard so that we can see, it's not in real time, but that's the goal. But as of a few weeks, we can see some of the performance metrics to understand kind of what PIC is spending their time on. The community support counselors, which are kind of the They used to be the victim's assistant and the facet team, but they're going to be doing more case management services with the PIC team. And the peers are being integrated. Peers are people with real life mental health experience of their own to be able to really uniquely meet people's needs where they're at. And so they've gotten some money from FLIPS, and they've just recently given that contract to Rome, which is Recovery Options Made Easy. And they're going to be hiring 4 peers to start going out on calls with the PIC team. They have 8 interns from SUNY Brockport that will also be attending calls with PIC. And then they have a new clinical supervisor. Before, they were using Don Kamen, and for all of the PIC team supervision. But this is an improvement that someone is actually going to be on staff to be able to, again, in real time, meet the clinical supervision needs of the PIC team. They also started working with Sankofa to be able to have more cultural competency as a part of the clinical supervision plan. And finally, there's a community engagement plan, which will help PIC be more proactive in how they use their time. So those are the updates from the PIC team. But just in general, they're doing really well. I think there's still some, in the future, looking to expand the calls that PIC goes on. But so far, it seems like the pilot has been going very well. Are there any questions?
No, sounds good. Councilmember Melendez?
Yeah, Board of Health met early September. At the time, a lot of talk about COVID and the changes, the increase in hospitalization. Outside of that, no real updates from the Board of Health meeting.
Councilmember Pio, you sent out the note about ivermectin.
Yes, ma'am.
Earlier today. Perhaps we could ask Councilmember Melendez to introduce that conversation with the Board of Health as well.
Would love that. Appreciate that greatly.
I don't know if you saw my follow-up article that says the FDA does not recommend that as a treatment for COVID, especially not without more research. Just to throw that out there.
Yeah, I suspect that will be the response we get from the board, but.
What is this stuff? What is this called? What is this stuff called?
Ivermectin. It's the stuff you hear them teasing about giving. People would rather give you horse medicine than the vaccines that have been approved and tested.
Doctors are losing their medical license for prescribing ivermectin, the human version, not the horse version. So people are turning to the horse version in order to get the medication that they see in other countries as working. So if we can, I know that there's studies being in process right now, but other countries have taken this seriously and have eradicated COVID, specifically in India, where 223 million people no longer pretty much have COVID. So I would like to take a look at this as a serious measure that we could take.
I
object to the use.
Yeah,
I object to
do
the use
too.
of the word we
One
there.
moment, please. One moment. I'm trying to think. I think Councilmember Evans was speaking, and then Councilmember Gruber.
No, I was just gonna say thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Gruber.
I really object to the use of the word we on that, Councilmember Pio. I mean, you're welcome to do whatever you want. We're a legislative body. We don't hold public health events. We don't set public health direction. There's a public health department that is run by the county, Dr. Mendoza. And so when you talk about like using terms like we should look into this, you're welcome to. I'm going to continue to trust Dr. Mendoza. I'm going to trust the CDC, and I am not going to be involved, frankly, in in really any conversations with you about what the appropriate medications for COVID is. I think there's enough data out there, and we have enough experts locally who are working on that.
Councilmember Patterson?
Yeah, and Councilmember Pio, it is extremely reckless for you to say that COVID has been cured in India based upon the use of a dubious medication. Look, man, you get to believe what you want to believe, you get to say what you want to say, and you are a council member. So, hey, man, go ahead. But dude, this is probably not the appropriate forum for you to air your beliefs in this manner. You say what you want to say everywhere else, and you do whatever else you want to do, and that's good. But as a rule, we don't just spout off on stuff and say things of this nature to each other in this space at this time.
Okay, if you can provide a better space and time, I'd be glad to have the conversation, but these are not dubious reports. These
Well,
are actual.
No, actually, yeah, it's pretty dubious, dude. And this is not an appropriate use of my time. So if this is where we are in our debate, just if we all agree that this is where we are in the debate, then I'm leaving, because there's no debate on this for me. I mean, there's really no conversation for me to be had on this. This is a matter of public safety and public health. And quite frankly, your stance on some of these issues are endangering the lives of our constituents. But you have the right, as other folks do, to believe what you want to believe. But I don't have to participate. So if we're done with business and this is where we are now, I'm out.
Thank you. And I just want to emphasize that I respect everybody's opinion. I may not agree with them, but I respect them, having them and sharing them. What we do with them is a whole different ball of wax. And in considering asking Council Melendez to raise that at the Board of Health, I think we all know where that's going to wind up, but it is a matter of respecting each other's opinions. Councilmember Patterson, I agree that we can't harbor on extremism, which sometimes stuff sounds like, but we do need to respect each other's opinions.
Thank you, President Scott.
I will raise the question. We meet, I think, this Wednesday.
I'm sorry, say again.
Sorry, I said I will raise the question. I believe we meet this Wednesday to get an official answer.
All right, thank you. There's nothing on Board of Ethics. Meeting is probably next week. Anything else, please? If not, we're finishing ahead of time, and that's the first. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.